Captured. Zone advantage is yours. 2 for 1. You gained the lead. Yes! 3 down. Look at them fall.
What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, Joker back again, once again, and today, people, we're going to talk about toxic optimism, something that has plagued the Destiny community since, well, basically its inception. Now, I know what you're thinking,
but Joker, how can optimism be toxic?
At which point I'd point out that the video has just started, and I'm getting to that. Sheesh, calm the fuck down, people, I mean, really. Now, I don't think it's surprising to anyone that people on the internet will always find ways to be toxic, more so in large groups. Gas, shock, horror, revelation, from the dawn of time, people have been stupid in large groups. Now, taking group out group dynamics, add some stupid people, sprinkle in a dash of hype, a pinch of unsubstantiated rumors, and a militant disposition to witch hunt and generally be toxic and unpleasant to anyone who dares disagree. And you have a surprising number of people within the Destiny community that tend to gather together, which is fine by me because we get to sit here and laugh about their toxicity. Now, I'm sure we've all seen it. You'll be talking about your favorite game, Destiny, because Destiny, of course, is everybody in the world's favorite game because it's the best game ever, it's flawless, and how dare you imply otherwise. And some toxic bigot Destiny hater will come into chat or make a YouTube video or post on Reddit a mild bit of concern about what our glorious and perfect overlords, saviors at Bungie, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, are doing with the game. Okay, I can't keep that up, but we've all seen it. You or somebody will voice a concern about Destiny and the future of Destiny, at which point some asshat comes in and berates you for not knowing the latest, totally credible Reddit or 4chan leak that is absolutely, positively legitimate this time, because it was totally posted by some Bungie employee's niece's nephew's ex-cousin, second roommate twice removed, that totally had a first-hand experience and was talking to a guy who knew a guy who might have known a guy that may have once lived in Seattle, so it's totally true. Just like that one kid on the playground who always had that uncle that worked at Nintendo. So you should totally believe everything they say because it's obviously completely, totally true. However, because you don't believe these totally credible leaks that are absolutely true, how dare your baby heathen brain not understand the gloriousness of what Bungie is doing? You're clearly a hater. In fact, no, you're a heretic and must be listed as excommunicatus traitoris. And as the cycle goes, we find out that these leaks have no bearing on reality, and so the cycle starts all over again. A pitfall that the Destiny community keeps falling for time and time again. Because there are a lot of stupid, toxic people in the Destiny community who like to be mindlessly hyped about things, and then attack other people who have not drank the Kool-Aid. And to be absolutely positively clear, I'm not talking about people who are just hyped about stuff and they're like excited and they're like, oh yeah, I really like this. This looks really cool. I'm really excited for this to come out. No, I'm talking about people like this. Just to say to you, Dark, I respect your opinion, but the only research you did was the Destiny news page, which is sad. If you'd done a little more digging, you'd found records and articles about meetings discussing this very thing. Bungie didn't publicly explain it because I'm sure they want it to be a surprise. The post then goes on to say, so you and all of your sniveling fans can shut the fuck up and play the game they are reworking to beauty for all of us. Let that sink in for a moment, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages. It's a great example of what I'm talking about. In fact, it illustrates my point perfectly. Some dude on the internet said something, some other dude said it was true, so it must be true. Now let's be toxic to anybody who doesn't automatically believe leaks and rumors and unsubstantiated reports. But this comment is amazing for another reason. Not because it's the perfect example of a toxic asshat using their hype as an excuse to be a toxic asshat, but because it underlines another thing I wanted to talk about. The sort of shit way that people report on or talk about leaks. They talk about them like it's the god-honest truth. Like, I get it, Destiny can be slow, and honestly, it can be really, really fun to talk about leaks, especially if it's a well put together leak. But you know it, I know it, the entire fallen population of the Cosmodrome knows it, and you would think that the Destiny community, at this point, should know it, but 99.9999999% of all leaks are bullshit. And not pointing out that these leaks are more than likely bullshit when you report on them is just patently irresponsible. Because then you have other people like myself who are trying to have an active and ongoing conversation about the state of the game and how it can improve, that then have people coming in with misinformation swearing up and down it's true because some guy on the internet said it was true. Not the most valid of points, and it really fucks up the conversation. This becomes even worse when we have instances like Astacross breaking an NDA to basically present to us nothing more than a spitballing session that Bungie had a year ago. So for those of you who do not know, because every video is somebody's first, recently in a video titled Why Beyond Light is Essentially Destiny 3, Astacross had this to say.
And I don't know why Bungie has not come out and actually said this. Like, I don't get it. And I hope I'm not breaking any NDAs, but at least from my experience, last year, September, we're sitting down with everyone from Bungie, including Luke Smith, who talks about the difficulties that Destiny has in terms of coding and why so many bugs arise with the game. Now, it was stated multiple times that the way the game was actually coded from the ground up is having to be redone. So they actually sat down and openly discussed what they were going to be taking off the menu and whether or not they needed to take off a planet at a time to redo these things. This was a very open and long discussion. I'm talking 8 hours. And that was just discussion with content creators, but I can only imagine how long these guys discussed it amongst themselves. Regardless though, what was laid out to me was essentially, hey, we have to take some of these planets off the map, redo them, recode them, reissue them. And the way this was like pushed toward us was like, hey, this is the alternative to Destiny 3. Because that also got brought up in the discussion. The question that was flat out asked to us from Luke was, hey, listen, why do you guys want a Destiny 3? And what is it that Destiny 3 would have that Destiny 2 couldn't already accomplish? What was then elaborated on was that currently, with the way the assets are in the game, Bungie was going to have to rebuild them from the ground up, which is why they had this huge checklist of items, of things they were going to be taking off the menu to begin rebuilding. Hence the list we went over here recently in the TWAP. Now, why Bungie hasn't actually come out and stated that they are doing this for that reason, I don't know. Like, I don't get it. It's not bad PR. The fact that they're taking off these maps, these areas, these assets to rebuild them from the ground up for the purposes of making the game more MMO-ish is a good narrative, Bungie. I've been over here biting my tongue this whole time and not saying anything because I keep expecting a TWAP to say it for us.
Now all of that sounds great, wonderful, except there's a reason NDAs exist. And then there's also the way that Astacross sets this up. He says, at least in my experience, sitting down in September. So this happened a year ago, and it was an open discussion amongst content creators over the course of 8 hours, where they were asked questions like, what would you want from a Destiny 3? Do we even need a Destiny 3? So the way that this comes off is little more than a 8-hour spitball session. But let's go ahead and say, for the sake of argument, that this isn't a game of telephone played over the course of a year, and Astacross is presenting everything that happened over the course of 8 hours a year ago accurately. And in that time, he didn't look at his phone, go off to take a piss, doze off, or misunderstand something. Let's just say for the sake of argument that he is recalling everything with an eidetic memory that would make an Adeptus Astartes hiss himself over the capabilities of a baseline human. We already know, according to what Astacross told us, that the plan has changed. According to what Bungie told them, the plan went from removing a single destination at a time and redoing it and reintroducing it back into the game to removing over half of the game. So what else changed? Could it be that Bungie's not talking about their intentions with Destiny like they did over a year ago with content creators because Bungie realized the actuality of what gutting things, remixing or rebuilding it, and then reintroducing it back into the game would actually mean? Because that's no small task. And Bungie might be able to get away with it once or twice, but given the choice between new content and old content, people will always want new content and then wonder why Bungie is wasting their time and resources fixing old content that they gutted from the game. If you think the criticism over reskinned content is bad now, wait till we get 2 or 3 more reskinned locations. There is also the fact that the stated goal of the Destiny Content Vault is quite different from what Astacross presents. The Content Vault is meant to be a merry-go-round of content coming in and out of Destiny. That's already entirely different from removing content, rebuilding it from the ground up, and then reintroducing it into the game. Likely, and this is just speculation on my part, but it's probably far easier to just remove large chunks of content, then have all of that free space, and reintroduce the highlights of said content, like the Vault of Glass, or the Cosmodrome. And we're probably getting the Cosmodrome back because large chunks of it already exist in Destiny 2. Now, to be 150% clear, this is not me attacking Astacross. I think the backlash that he got from other content creators for possibly breaking NDA was fucking ridiculous. People were less worried about a friend or a colleague getting in severe legal trouble over talking about the game and trying to win people over, and more worried about how this might affect their access to Bungie in the future. I won't name names, but this tells you everything you need to know about the priorities of some of these people when it ultimately comes to the state of the game. It's not about the game, it's about access to Bungie and feeling special because of it. But hey, fucking details. And hey, that's fine. If that's how you want to conduct your business, I'm not here to judge, I'm just here to laugh. And there's certainly a lot more toxic ways you could level your priorities. All I ask is that you be transparent, so it doesn't look like you're throwing people under a bus when shit starts popping off. I mean, watching content creators dogpile Astacross for trying to put a positive spin on content removal simply because how it might affect them was, even for a guy like me, fucking cold. The moral of the story, plans change. Don't break NDAs because of that. Also, don't believe everything you hear on the internet, unless it's from an official source. And take everything with a grain of salt. A huge, giant, massive fucking grain of salt. This is why I make sure when I'm talking about, like, say, the new subclasses, I use phrases like, if it works as advertised, then XYZ. Because at the end of the day, I'm merely speculating on the information in front of me and making a series of logical conclusions and educated guesses based on that information. And anyone with a brain is going to understand that. I really shouldn't have to point that out, but we do live in a world where common sense isn't so common, and mindless, hype-induced toxicity is. But, as some wise men once said, laugh at the toxicity of idiots and monetize your haters. Anyways, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous. But above all else, stay frosty.